Hi everyone, I'm Esther Mala, a parenting coach, an expert in child and youth development. It is my pleasure to welcome you to my session on parenting and learning concerning teenagers. The topic will be challenges in raising teenagers. First of all, let me share briefly about teenagers. Like many parents, you are now in a time called teenage years, together with your teens. And this can be challenging. In fact, many parents state that teenage years can be the most challenging times in parenting. This is why. The teenagers is changing really massive ways. It is the biological changes in the brain and hormones that causes the changes in their behavior. Parents, your teens are not out to punish you or hate you. These changes in their brain are ruling the roost, and that's why you observe them behaving irrationally, irritatingly, and impulsively. Parents, these are the few questions which frequently asked by parents during my online parenting workshops which I conduct. Parents have no idea what is happening to their teens and what is happening in their home, because it's never like before. By sharing with you, I believe you will understand your teens better and you will understand yourself and learn how you can manage your teenager, especially their behaviors, and how you can help them to be more confident of themselves without misbehaving. First, what are the behavior traits of teenagers? What are the difficult teenagers? You've got to recognize, you've got to know what type of teens you have before you could know how to answer them, how to help them, how to resolve the problems which your teens bring about in the family or even outside in schools. What are the struggles of being a teenager? Why your teens are not communicating with you like before? And how do you discipline a difficult teenager? My new parents, nowadays, teenagers, most of them are difficult teenagers, unlike you and me, because our teens face more challenges. Even you as parents face more challenges than your parents did. Know how you ruin your relationship with your teenagers. What are the tips to be a successful parents with teenagers? How to promote teenagers' confidence. Let us see what are the behavior traits of teenagers. Teenagers tend to demonstrate mood swings. This is because of the hormonal and physical changes in them. Trust me, your teens don't understand what is happening to them. They only know they are different, they have grown taller, they are physically changing to be similar to you. Your teens tend to be happy for a moment, looking sad, aggressive suddenly, getting angry with little things you tell them, always quarreling with their siblings, quarreling with friends in school, or even become quiet, no longer cheerful as they were before they attain teenhood. You will also see that your teens are spending less time with family, unlike before. You will see a child which used to be clinging to you, running to you to share all the joy, the sadness, and every little things which is happening in their life is now different, very different. Trust me, parents, these are absolutely normal behaviors of teens. Your teens are trying to tell you that they are shifting their circle of support from family to peers. If they are not out with their friends, they'll be in their bedrooms, on social media, chatting with their friends, chatting with strangers, or video games. And if you see extreme behaviors whereby your teens behave extremely quiet or extremely noisy, frequent quarrels with their siblings, with you, is a good sign that your child needs professional help. Because your child could be going through depression. Pushing boundaries and challenging rules are another traits of teenagers. They don't like to be questioned and they don't like to be told what to do. They prefer to be on their own. And if you tell them what to do, they will accuse you for controlling them, crossing the border, and troubling them. They tend to be waking up late, skipping schools, not doing their homeworks, using foul language, breaking school dress code, dressing clumsily, funny hairstyles, funny hair colors, and so on. By behaving this, your teens are asserting their independence and autonomy and telling their adults in their life, you can't tell me what to do. If your teens persist in behaving aggressively, angrily, and dangerously in family, please get a professional help. Especially if you see them breaking rules in school, outside. Don't be surprised. Even your teen would want to drive your car without a license. Parents, during this time, your teens tend to experiment a lot of new things in their life because they'll be curious as they believe they have already attained adulthood. They would want to do what the adults do. Because teenage years are the time for experimenting with adults' behaviors. And although parents don't like it, many adolescents will try all these new things like taking alcohol, taking mild drugs, smoking, and sexual activities. You as parents, you got to let your teen know that you disapprove of their actions and it's not allowed in your home. At the same time, it is important that you don't overact if you find that your teen taking alcohol or even having sex. Engage in dialogue session at appropriate time. When your teen's mood is good, fix a time and talk to your teens about safe sex, including not only about pregnancy, about disease too. Parents, to conclude about their traits, your teen's traits, know this: your adolescent will go through ups and downs when puberty and the time that the brain is fully developed, usually in early years to mid-20s, while a 14-year-old needs more supervision and boundaries than a 19-year-old. Be aware that a continuum of parental guidance is necessary as you shepherd your child into adulthood. If you need help deciphering whether the way your teen is behaving is normal teenage behavior or something to be concerned about, please seek professional help. Your teen's physician, a parenting coach, is a good place to start for an advice. If necessary, your physician can refer you and your teen to a mental health specialist for an evaluation. Parents, as I mentioned earlier, most of our teenagers are difficult teenagers, unlike you and me during our times. This is all simply because of the challenges your teens are facing. Let's see what are difficult teenagers. Difficult teenagers exhibit behavioral, emotional, and learning problems beyond typical teenage issues. Like, you might be seeing that your teens are not even doing well in school like before, not showing much interest towards their studies, their marks declining, and their behavior changed tremendously. They may repeatedly practice at-risk behavior, including all this which I mentioned earlier, that is drugs, sex, violence, being violent, skipping school, self-harming, shoplifting, and other criminal acts. This is all due to the activities happening in their brain, the hormonal changes, and emotional changes in them. Being a teenager, parents, is much more harder than being an adult. This is simply because your teens will be under immense pressure from stress, stress and pressure from their friends. Due to emotion, they also find that they don't understand a lot of things, because their body are changing physically and mentally, and their peers are also equally giving them problem. For instance, their peers might have better mobile phone than them. Maybe your teen might not even have a mobile phone, or maybe much more inferior phone. This little thing means a lot for your teens. And this will be very disturbing, and they will feel pressure and stressful that they cannot challenge, they cannot be in par with their peers. They would tend to feel inferior to their peers, and this exerts pressure in their mind and cause them emotionally down. And one more reason why your teens often behave very unruly is because most of them don't get proper sleep because of all these things going on in them. Parents, let's watch this video from University of California and see how the brain of your teen works and what are their traits further. Let's watch.
It's not easy being a teenager. There's the angst, the emotions, the raging hormones. And although hormones do play a big role in puberty, the brain is going through a lot of changes too. Neuroscientists are learning that some of the most puzzling teenage behavior may actually have some real benefits. Legally, you're considered an adult when you turn 18. But from the neuroscience perspective, your brain is really still developing.
And the current literature suggests that it's about around age 25 or so is when the brain finishes the period of adolescence.
This is Dr. Adriana Galvin, and she runs the Developmental Neuroscience Lab at UCLA. The brain develops from the back to the front, so the prefrontal cortex is the last region to fully develop.
The prefrontal cortex is the part of the brain you need to make good decisions, to think about the future, think about consequences.
You can kind of think of it like the Spock of the brain, logical, calm, and collected. And then deeper in the brain, there are these emotional systems like the limbic system that are more interested in immediate gratification. They're sort of like Captain Kirk, a risk taker and a bit emotional. During the teenage years, the limbic system develops really quickly, and the prefrontal cortex is trying to catch up. Eventually, as individuals become adults, the prefrontal cortex will increasingly have more influence over behavior than the impulsive part of the brain. So, without a fully developed prefrontal cortex, you can kind of see why teens might be more impulsive or just worry less about future consequences. Another brain region that's really active during adolescence is this thing called the striatum, and it's a key part of the brain's reward system. Let's say you find 20 bucks on the street, or someone gives you a cookie. The striatum goes off, and it releases dopamine into the brain. Adriana's lab discovered that the teenage brain is super sensitive to different rewards like sugar and money. Way more than in the brains of adults and children. And all this activity in the brain's reward center, it may actually serve a purpose.
We asked teenagers to come to the lab and we scanned their brains while they performed a learning task. They were shown a picture of a butterfly and 2 flowers, and they were asked to guess which flower the butterfly would land on.
After each guess, they were given feedback. When the teens got it right, their striatum would get really active.
They would learn over time that the butterfly preferred one flower over the other. And everybody learned this task. But what we found is that the adolescents learned it more quickly than adults and with greater accuracy.
So having this reward center that's hyper-responsive to feedback actually helps teenagers learn from their environment. But this same region of the brain is also connected to risk-taking. Data from Adriana's lab suggests that teens with a more reactive striatum are more likely to engage in risky behavior and to enjoy it.
Rather than ask how you keep your teenager from taking risks, because we know the brain is really oriented towards risk during this time, it's better to ask, how do I provide opportunities for healthy risks?
Like trying out for the school play, even if you've never acted before, or asking someone out on a date. Those are real risks to a teenager, but they're not the kind of risks that parents typically worry about.
It makes sense from an evolutionary perspective that there's a time in life when teenagers want to become more independent, seek out new opportunities. In the animal world, this would translate into looking for new food resources or foraging behavior. And in teenagers, it often manifests as risk-taking behavior and simply moving away from the family unit.
Teenagers are going to make mistakes, but they've got this brain that's encouraging them to learn and explore and push boundaries.
So adolescence is a really special time, and I think we don't appreciate enough their energy and their ability to lead and to motivate, and how excitable they find life in a way that we maybe we don't later in life.
Our brains keep changing throughout our lives, and researchers at UC Berkeley are learning that if you give people a little bit of power, it can have a big effect on the brain.
Yes, parents, I hope you enjoyed the video and learned what is happening in your teens. Now, let's see what are the struggles your teens are going through. These are 10 common problems and issues teenagers face every day. First, they suffer from negative body image. They are very disturbed with the changes happening in their body. For example, pimples start appearing on their face. They find their voice is changing. And they find that these changes is making them more uglier. And they consider this is negative and very disturbing. Next, they long to belong to supportive and accepting communities beyond their family. They prefer to be with their friends and those outside their family to support them because they find their friends have similar ideas and they have the urge to discover similar things, especially with opposite sex, alcohol, and so on. They experience stress and difficulty in setting their priority and managing their time. Teens find it's very difficult to manage themselves, even manage their time. They are always not doing what they ought to do correctly. And due to this, they often get scolding from you, from teachers, for not completing their tasks on time, like doing their homeworks, getting up early for school, yeah, dressing up neatly, and so on. Because your teens will be carried away with whatever they are interested and forget about the rest of the things happening around them, even their own self. They feel lots of pressure from peers, parents, society to conform to their conflicting expectation. Teens have their own expectation, and if they do not meet, they will be under tremendous pressure. Your teens are also at risk of mental and physical health issues. When they expose themselves too much to social media, too much of unhealthy conversation, unhealthy activities, this would also affect their mental and physical health. Your teens need good mentors, role models, and heroes. Your teens often turn to their peers for ideas, for advice, or whatever questions they have. So parents, you got to be a good mentor, role model, and your teens' heroes. Your teens are also tempted to begin unhealthy patterns, as explained before, drugs and alcohol. Your teens are exposed to on-screen violence and unhealthy social media. Your teens could be communicating with strangers, could be watching violent movies. To them, this is normal because they often behave violent and they find it's all right, unlike what you believe. Your teens tend to visit the dark webs, pornographies, which is easily available on internet. So parents, you got to watch on this before it becomes serious. Next, your teens do also face bullying, online and offline. Online could be because as they communicate and develop friendship with those strangers out there, it could also be detrimental to your teen's peace, emotion, and mental development, because these strangers could also bully them. We call it cyber bullies. There are many cyber bullies out there. And your teens can also suffer bullying offline in school. You know, they can be bullied by their friends in school, you know, even strangers outside. So these are also struggles for them. It's very challenging. Your teens also participate in risky sexual activities and behavior because of attractive invitation and suggestion from their peers and the wrong people they mingle with. Many parents would be wondering why my teens are not communicating with me. Why my teen is keeping a distance from me? Why my teen is no longer cheerful like before? Why my teen is quarrelsome, always challenging me, challenging the siblings, and challenging anybody out there? Let's see why. Parents, if you don't understand that teenagers believe, and what they think is that you have to have the right to be heard. If your teens have no reason to listen to you, if you don't have anything which is going to benefit them, they will not listen to you. If it's not related to them, they will also not listen to you. 2, your communication style. If you communicate in naggy, bossy, and lecturing them all the time, your teens will just shut down, and they even might walk away, slamming the door, because they find they will experience pressure. And teens often refuse to talk to you because they feel they must, they deserve something from you in return. And they did not do anything for you. They have their own life, they have their own liking, they have their own things to do. They often question in them, why would I talk to you? Some of them will be very verbal. Some of them do not say it to you, but this will be going on in their mind. What's the point? What's in it for me? Go away, leave me alone. This is what your teens will say, either verbally or inside them, quietly. You might not see. All you can see is your teen being quiet, but it'll be very noisy inside. Next, if your teens have been extremely quiet or behaving angrily, aggressively, picking fights with their siblings, throwing things, showing tantrum, refuse to join you at the dinner table, or even refuse to communicate at the dinner table after some time, this is because maybe you did not attend to your teens from the beginning. Parents, if you allow your teen to keep away, be by himself or herself too long, a time they would develop in as their character and behavior. And it's going to be tough for you to bring about changes in them because they are all the time allowed to be avoidant or stonewall. Your teens, parents, got to feel safe in being around you. Teens will not share their emotions, their feelings with somebody who they cannot trust or feel safe about. Because teens cannot take embarrassment. So you got to demonstrate this to your teens. Show to them that you care for them, and whatever you share with, they share with you, it will be private and confidential, so that your teens will open up to you in future. We are coming to how to discipline. When you have a difficult teenager, how do you discipline them? Here are 6 keys to handling difficult behaviors. First, avoid giving away your powers. You as parents, you cannot allow your teens to do whatever they like. At the same time, you cannot hover over them or micromanage them, but be an authoritative parents. You got to set rules in your house and explain clearly to your teens about it and the consequences if they fail to abide by it or they cause troubles. Tell them. You could also enforce actions which that your teen can lose their privileges. Next, establish clear boundaries. You have to let your teens know clearly what you approve and disapprove of. For instance, as I mentioned just now, the rules. Again, there's another situation where you can discuss with your teen. In my parenting workshop, I have done a session where the parents, how parents could help their teens to solve their problems or whatever problems arise between the teens and parents. One of it is write up a simple agreement about a certain case, maybe about a certain problem. For instance, your teen might want to go for a party. You can state clearly in that agreement, a short agreement, in listing form, that how he's going to the party, what time he's leaving the house, and what time your teen should be back home, and how is your teen going and coming back from the party. What is not allowed? Maybe alcohol is not allowed. And all this as your rules for your teen to follow. And also tell them if they don't obey, what are the consequences. Please do not be harsh. Talk to them in a soft tone and with a pleasant expression on your face. Show empathy as your teenage is not in position to understand everything as you do. When you find your difficult teenager always wanting to spend time with their friends, and you want to know who are their friends and what type of friends is your child mingling, you may arrange for a party in your house, or you can arrange a party outside and you join in together with your teen. Focus on the leader of the group. Find out his or her behavior. Show your teens that you are appreciating his or her friends. You are supportive of his friends. If there's anything not right, again, do not correct your teens or his friends or the leader in public. Arrange a time for a dialogue with your teens and think how you want to work out how you want to resolve this issue. In mild situations, maintain humor. You need not be serious all the time. Create a situation where you can sit with your teen and family to joke around, to play games, and show empathy to your teens. By doing this, your teen will feel supported and you will be more approachable for your teens, and your teen will be more approachable for you. If your teen has some problems, let your teens solve his own problem. But just let your teens know that you are there to help out, to support, and work out together if he's not able to resolve it. By doing this, you can bond a closer relationship with your teens. Parents, you might be often thinking how to improve your communication and your relationship with your teenagers. Some points here could be a repetition, but I'll make it brief. Tips for communication. Always stay calm, parents. If your teens' behavior trigger your anger, your mood, stop. Take a deep breath and speak calmly. If you find that you cannot control your anger, your aggression towards your teens, walk away, do some other activities, or come back later when your teen cools down, and engage your teen in conversation about the matter, the issue. Next, as I mentioned just now, always use humor. Do not ridicule or pass sarcastic remarks on your teens. Teens hate that. If you continuously do this, your teens will keep distance from you. They will feel hurt. They will feel condemned. Sometimes when you're talking to your teens will show their bored look. They will raise their eyes. Just ignore them. Don't take it too personally, because you know your teens are going through struggles which they don't even understand themselves. Always, when your teens want to talk to you, check your understanding with them. Engage active listening. Listen to them to avoid misunderstanding. Because what your teens relate to you is very important before you speak up. Give them descriptive phrases. Thank them as rewards. For example, what are descriptive phrases? Say, for example, your teen were out for a party, and your teen is supposed to come back at 10 p.m. But your teen decided to come back later. So your teen has called you and informed you that he or she will be late and what time he or she is coming back. The moment your teen reaches home, or next day in the morning when you first see your teen, talk to him or her friendly. Just be normal. Yeah? Ask your teen, how was your party last night? Thank you for informing me. I really appreciate that. I was worried about you. Thank you. So by you saying these positive words, showing your appreciation, that how happy you are that your teen has informed you, your teens will feel equally happy because it's a very positive situation. So your teen want to repeat the same thing in future, maybe at other events, but they want to hear the same from you again and again. So parents, please practice this always. Next, let's see what are the tips for relationship. First, be a role model. Behave as the way you want your teens to behave. If you want your teens to speak to you respectfully, you have to speak respectfully to them. If you want them to speak joyfully, you have to speak to them joyfully. Yeah, parents, if you don't allow them to use their mobile during dinner, at the dinner table, or as family during family times, please, you don't use it also. If you do it, your teens will feel that you are controlling them, you are ruling them, but you yourself are not doing it correctly. So please always be a good role model to your teens. Sometimes you might be engaged with argument. You find it difficult to resolve it with your teens. Always get a third party. The best person is your spouse to side your teens so that your teens can discuss about that issue with your spouse, and he or she will not feel alone or defeated by you, or feel attacked by you. When you see your teens too quiet, looking extremely sad, or refuse to talk, please approach your teens in a very mild, soft manner and ask your teens what is really causing them the stress and their misbehavior. Tell them that you are there to help them, support them, and help to resolve it for them. But do not force. And again, to have better relationship with your teens, get to know their friends. Invite their friends to your house for the party, maybe your teen's birthday party. Your teen will appreciate that. I've advised one of my parents who's having problem with her teenager, always condemning the mother, always saying the mother is not being fair to her. She wants to spend time away from her mother with her friends, maybe a few days picnicking by the beach. She demands what she wants. But after taking my advice to organize a party at home with her friends, now, and a few other tips, now she finds her relationship with her teen improved tremendously. Now her daughter, wants to spend more time with her. Parents, you got to observe your teens' behavior always and see if there's any behavior of your teens is worrying you. If your child's attitudes towards you and your family doesn't respond to any of the strategies I suggested before this, it might be a warning sign that they are under deeper problems. You might also be worried if there are changes in your child's attitude, mood, if your child withdraws him or herself from family, friends, from not doing their usual activities, your child runs away from home, stop going to school regularly, always absent, please show your concern in getting some professional help. If you are concerned about your child's behavior, here are some things you can do. Consider seeking professional support, good people to talk to, including school counselors, teachers, parenting coach, child and youth experts, even some of your friends who are parents. But parents, mind you, other parents are not professionals, although they might have some experience. Make sure their action and their results are positive. Otherwise, you will run into deeper problems. If their action towards managing their teens problem is successful, you can learn from them too. Parents, do you agree with me if I say, in order to manage your children, your teens, your career, all your whatever you got to do every day well, if you want to manage them well, if you want to do it in a proper way, you've got to prepare yourself first. That is, you got to take care of your well-being, your mental health, so that you can stay calm and consistent when your teens misbehave. Parents, if you yourself need help, please get help. To start with, you can engage a coach, a parenting coach, to assist you on how you can prepare yourself, how you can resolve your own problem like stress, anxiety, all these problems, and prepare yourself before you handle your teens and your daily tasks. Because if you are not taking care of yourself, it's not only going to affect your teens, your other children, and your spouse too. Your relationship with them could also be in trouble. Everything begins with you, parents. Parents, some of you don't realize, as parents, we always do good, think good, and want to see our children happy and be happy together. But sometimes, and most of the times, you don't realize that your actions triggers your teens' bad behavior. First, these are few points which you could consider. If you are doing this, any one of this, or few of this, please take note and change your way you manage yourself with your teens. First, if you don't listen to your teens, if your teens got anything to talk or discuss with you, please listen. Engage active listening. Next, do not criticize your teens excessively. Talk in positive manner. Even instructions should be in positive manner. Your teens will feel condemned and embarrassed, and they might keep away from you. Avoid this, please. Your teens also do not like you questioning them too much about something, about themselves. Keep your questions few and short. Do not harass them with questions, too many questions, because they will feel pressurized, because they are going through many struggles themselves, and they don't want additional problem from you. Do not tell embarrassing stories and complaints about them in public or even to their siblings. Talk to them in private. Next, stereotype their behavior. Do not, if your teens shout at you, yell at you, do not do the same. Always, parents, keep calm and talk to them later if you could. Fix a time with them where you can talk to them. Please do not also force your teens. Let them choose and decide what they want. For example, while having dinner, you might have 3 dishes of vegetables on the table, and your teens chooses one and not the other. Do not force your teens to take the other, because your teen will feel intimidated. Your teens will feel that you are forcing them, you are controlling them, and you will be fighting the wrong battle. Your teens might behave aggressively, angrily, or even walk away from the table. Parents, whenever you want your teens to get something done, please do not expect instant compliance to your requests. Give them time and space to accomplish it, so that your teens will be at ease to do what you require, simply because they are under pressure. So many things, challenges. Next, always maintain a positive relationship and encouraging situation where you do not exert force, suspicions, rigid rules, which shows distrust to your teens. Your teens expect you to trust them or ask them anything in a right manner. Because if you practice continuous suspicion and distrust behavior, your kids may be drawn to much more dangerous behaviors, because they will quickly turn to peers who are equally immature like them and sort to wrong things and get into more troubles. Parents, here are 7 simple tips for success in parenting teenagers. I'm sure some of the points here will also be repetition, but I'll make it brief. I'm sure by now you understand a lot of things which I'm sharing with you. First, understand the development stage they are in. As you know, your friends, your teens feel that friends are more important to them because they have the support system they have among them. Next, decision-making skills. Your teens will feel they are big enough, they are matured enough to make their own decisions without knowing that it's still in process. But you can see it. So if your teens behave differently than you require, please know that their skills are still in process. And again, due to the hormones and emotions, which is running wild, your teens are misbehaving. So observe these two. Next, focus on relational connection. Child psychologist Ron Lewis says the most important goal for the relationship with your teens should be a relational connection. You must always work on how to improve your connection with your teens. Practice positive parenting. Be an allied parent so that you find that it's easier to manage your teens and you have less stress yourself. Engage listening more. As I mentioned just now, active listening will help. Listen more than you speak. Ron Lewis introduced this scale 3 to 1. That is, it went like this. Listen, listen, listen. Then you speak. You may interrupt your teen with permission for a short moment if you have anything to say. Then continue listening to what your teen got to say till the end. Then you speak and you speak. Set boundaries, firm boundaries. Yeah, this is what we call authoritative parents. You cannot be letting your teens to do whatever they like and go wherever they want. You have to set everything clearly. You have to make it very clear to them so that you will not be at loggerhead with your teens. Do not take it personally. If you see your teens are misbehaving, do not take it seriously because it's due to the hormones, emotions, decisions, and stress your teenager is going through. Most of the time they get mad to you, they get mad at you, they will speak hurtful words and push you away. This is absolutely normal, parents. Do not take it personally. Don't just tell them no. Tell them why. Teens want to know why because they're very curious. They're curious about everything happening around them, even whatever you want them to do or you don't want them to do. They need an explanation. So if you disapprove of certain things, explain to them why, so that they will not get angry with you or throw words at you. Next, don't overcomplicate matters. Whenever you got to observe your teen's mood, situation, and time when you want to talk to your teens. Because your teens are continuously under pressure and stress. And if you approach them wrongly, you will only complicate the situation. These are 7 P's essential and highly effective for promoting teenagers' confidence. First, presence. Presence. When you create presence, this means parents, you're understanding your teens and supporting your parents, being a supportive parent. Praising. Metaphysics, the law of increase. By you praising your teens, you're giving your teens life, imparting positive energies. These positive energies promotes mental wellness, self-esteem, confidence, and healthy relationship, and release serotonin and dopamine into the system. Propping. Propping is an important, because if you do it carefully, your teenagers will be soon be walking confidently without much need for you. Of course, as young people, they will always require your assistance. However, they will not be asking for assistance because they are incapacitated, but they will be coming from a position of a strength and belief that you will enrich their life. Next, promoting self-improvement. Partitioning. Art of distinguishing, balancing, and understanding. Personal strength to build confidence. These three elements are very important in promoting confidence in teens. Partitioning, distinguishing is teaching your teenagers to realize, to be aware of, and know what they are capable of. Balancing, knowing that they are not capable of doing everything and they are not yet competent to do certain things. Understanding that is just because they are not good at one thing, it doesn't mean they are not good in everything. As parents of teenagers, it is imperative that we master this concept of partitioning and teach it to our teenagers, because the generalization type of thinking can be detrimental and damaging to the process of building confidence in our teens. You want to teach your teens how to partition and help them understand their strengths and their vulnerabilities, to know, to understand and accept. This is what I can do at this moment, and this is what I'm not able to do at this moment. Your teens got to know all this before they understand fully about themselves. Next, promoting independence. Presence, all these elements, presence, praising, propping, partitioning, and promotion of self-improvement will help in promoting independence in your teens. Avoid hovering and micromanaging so that your teens will know that you trust them, and they'll be more confident in getting things done, and they will even consider coming back to you for further support. Last is positivity. You got to create a situation and encourage your teens positively. Create a positive environment where you behave positively, talk positively, cultivate positive habits so that your teen will be a better person, will behave more confidently with you. Parents, I strongly believe that if you are taking home much from my session today, see you next time. Thank you.